only has a blade that cuts he who wields it most especially.
You're not a lot of fun, are you?
What's up, everybody? So, I honestly had zero expectations, none at all, going into this because D&D is a thing where you don't have a plot, you just go and then see what happens. And stuff is supposed to get screwed up along the way and not everything be perfect. So this is an environment for a movie where you could do basically whatever you wanted and then just be like, no, they were all bad. Like, so I was expecting to just like moderately like the movie. I loved it. It was outstanding.
I just got back from my third viewing of the movie, and if that in and of itself isn't high praise, I don't know what else is.
Mm-hmm. It's ridiculously good. This whole cast of people are just insane. Chris Pine needs to do more fantasy stuff. He's very good at this.
He is.
I'm sick of him not getting the credit he hasn't been getting for being a good actor. He's really good.
He's also just a really good comedic actor too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wasn't always the biggest fan of his Star Trek films, but something I've noticed is he's done a better job of like capturing that William Shatner camp in movies outside of the Trek franchise. Like, one of my favorite performances from him still to this day is his role as Prince Charming in Into the Woods.
Nice. No, there's like might be my favorite part of the Wonder Woman movies.
Yeah, I can see why Patty Jenkins loves working with him.
Yeah, I didn't even want him in the second movie, but I was happy he was there. It was fun. Yeah, he's so good. Everyone in this movie is good. It's like if you would have told me we're having a high fantasy, fully going into it movie, who were you getting into it? Michelle Rodriguez was not on that list of all people because she's very much normally not in that scope of things when it comes to movies.
I have a feeling Vin Diesel kind of talked her into this one because Vin is. It may not look that way because of the Fast and Furious movies,
a huge
but
nerd. Absolutely huge nerd. Yeah, it's weird how the most overly machismo people in Hollywood tend to be the biggest nerds, like him and
Joe Manganiello.
Joe Manganiello, yeah. Like there's a storyline in this wrestling promotion AEW when it first started, where there's this overly buff, just total jock asshole character played who is MJF being played up by this guy who wrestles him. I can't remember. Is it Brandon Cutler? I can't remember who he was wrestling, but he was known for being a big nerd. And he took this big gym selfie with his arms looking all extra jacked. He's like, I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. And then there's all these people like Joe Manganiello looking on the top of GQ's Sexiest Man Alive going, I do. I loved it. It was so good. Oh, man. But yeah, the cast of characters felt really actually connected. It's not one of those things where you kind of had to force them to have chemistry. They were really good.
Yeah, one thing I liked about this is everyone had a history with at least one other person. Like, obviously, Ed and Holga start the movie already knowing each other, but then you have Simon, played brilliantly by Justice Smith.
Yep,
had like a failed courtship with our druid, and together they honestly make like the perfect team.
They do, and I'm glad they actually had a druid because that is always the one where they're like, the budget's not worth it. I'm like, no, druids are fucking awesome.
Not only that, they actually delivered on an owlbear.
Yeah, all of that was great. So she did turn into a deer.
Only at the end.
No, at the beginning, when she was escaping the castle.
Oh, I meant the end
of. Oh, at the end
yeah.
of that. Oh, at the end there, she's like, oh yeah, but Yeah, man, everyone was great. Hugh Grant was ridiculous in this movie. Um, who was that? I needed to look her up, but I forgot to before today. The girl that plays Kira.
Oh, that's Chloe Coleman.
That's the kid from My Spy, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, she's doing good. And one thing I loved about this movie, on top of many things I loved about this movie, it was not afraid to be a Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Yeah, no, they do something kind of perfect with the way it's written. You know how obviously when you're playing the game you need a dungeon master, and he or she is the one who's like giving the exposition. They handle exposition in this story perfectly.
They do. But one thing that they also do and don't do, which I appreciate, and movies are starting to get a little bit better at it, is that they didn't take 5 minutes to explain everything that got brought up that would make sense to them in their world, but wouldn't to someone who was watching. And that's so much better.
Yeah, all of the information that we receive is information that like the characters genuinely didn't know.
Yeah. And they explain it. Like anyone else, they brought up any random character that would never appear on screen. They're like, yeah, that guy did with that and the other thing. And you're like, oh, he was some cool dude. Cool. I don't need them telling me a 900-page dissertation on the Harpers. I don't. That was a group he was in. Cool. That's awesome. I'll remember the Harpers now because they had a cool dude in it, and then I can look it up if I want. Do stuff like this more. You do not need to over-exposit vomit at the crowd. And I'm so happy I'm getting a fantasy film that's not doing it.
Yeah, making the world feel lived in is how you connect with the characters more, because it'll feel less like you're watching a movie and more like you are a fly on the wall just following their adventure.
Yes, exactly. It's not like video games where you can go find the stuff if you want because they're in notes somewhere and the characters know what they need to know. This is just knowing it, and they don't go overboard, or if something's really dumb, they just excuse it because it's magic. I love that too. Like, how are we going to cross that bridge? I don't know. Maybe we can use a walking stick. No, it's actually the gun from Portal, but it's fine.
Also, speaking of the staff, the use of like practical effects mixed with the CGI, I thought was really well handled. Specifically, I think the one standout moment for me is when Doric is entering the carriage through the portal.
Yeah.
How they like get her from point A to point B. It still boggles the mind how they pulled it off.
It does. And some of the comedy in this is the funniest. And this is such a well-written and well thought out. Every joke gets paid off like 7 times. Yep. It's so weird how well written this was. Like from the very start, when they don't have him on IMDb, so I can't remember what the hell the guy's name is. The Tengu looking bird.
Oh, Jonathan.
When they were stamped it and they don't know what they did, and then they ride but your pardon was accepted. And then they ride Jonathan out, and it gets done. And at the end, when Forge is taken care of, and they get him in, and then poor Jonathan, they grab him to try and do the same thing. He smashes into a wall because they learned.
Also, speaking of that moment, before that, the Palin has a Drax moment where like Holga's like, yeah, he's a real son of a bitch, and Zhang says like, so he blames his
mother for this. No, that's not what I. Never mind.
And then it turns out that his mom actually is,
not great. But this whole man, I I'm so glad, and we talked about this with John Wick, and I hope it continues because this movie did it. Because I talked about when we were doing John Wick that I'm scared that we might enter a period back again that because the John Wick movies are no longer a thing, that unless Chad Stahelski and the other one that did the first John Wick,
David Leitch.
David Leitch, do a movie that action scenes are gonna suck and like no one else is gonna try. The editing and choreography and everything in this was just unreal. All of it you saw, you understood all of it. It wasn't some hobbly jobbly garbage. And they were exciting to watch. Like, and then intermixing the comedy to make a funny scene. I had to reconsole myself. I was laughing so fucking hard at that overweight dragon.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the other moment when they need a distraction. So,
oh no, I was gonna get to that later when they have the freaking hologram that skips and distorts. Oh, I was dying. I was fucking dying. My roommate almost fell out of his theater chair. He was laughing so hard. That might be the funniest thing Chris Pine's been a part of in his life. I don't think they were ever going to top that scene ever.
Nope. Even just thinking about it like makes me chuckle.
And then lady, like ah! So good. And like also that they make Forge the villain in this. And I love that he was a dickhead from the start. And they just didn't know. I was like, man, that's going to be really lame if like the red mages corrupted him and he's only like that and they have to cure him. I'm like, that's going to be really cliche. And he's like, no, I was just kind of hoping you were going to die in the thing. And I didn't.
Yeah, one of the biggest complaints about a lot of modern fantasy movies is that sometimes the villain is just kind of whatever.
Yeah.
This has the advantage of giving us two villains. One who is like, you know, the charismatic con man who betrays them before the events of the movie really kick off, and then the other villain is the one who's like the actual like worthy adversary.
The woman who they made look like Cara Delevingne but was not Cara Delevingne. I was just like, y'all are going for a very specific look here. Why didn't you just get Cara Delevingne? One of you watched Suicide Squad and thought her look to look great. But yeah, and just like the perspective shots with Olga and her husband, how he dated another giant that was even to him that was taller than her Olga. All of them had their own personal problems. They all got, like you said, they're all interconnected and it worked together really well. The scenery was fantastic. Like I said, they just weren't scared to be weird. And like certain parts of them, their plans not going right and like just thinking on the fly. It was just all done really well. It's hard to go moment by moment because there's a ton of just little moments that build and there's like big fight scenes. Yeah. All the CGI looked fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
This looked like a very expensive movie when I don't think it had that giant of a budget. But
according to Wikipedia, the budget was $150 million.
Oh my goodness gracious! This looks like they cost $400 million with the special effects. Funny how if you actually concentrate and use CG where you only need to, it turns out better. It's cheaper. Oh no! But anyway, yeah, and then having just all the fake outs throughout it of like them almost getting what they need. All the characters just getting to be these just outlandish like Zenk and all these people. Everyone had known him and he just ended up being a good guy. But I also love, this is my favorite thing, one of my favorite things that they do in games and video and movies and whatever. It's when it's like it's why Quicksilver was not allowed to go with the rest of the movie in Days of Future Past.
Oh,
where they're just like, all right, I am leaving now because I would solve the rest of your problems. Goodbye, and then you walk away.
I love the joke that like he's so like on the straight and narrow that he's literally walking in a straight line.
Straight, what's he gonna do? That rock's right there. He's just gonna walk right over it. That's what I mean about the writing. You didn't need to have that moment, but that was so funny. I almost bet they were recording him and he walked over that dumb rock to be stupid and they ADR'd those lines in.
Probably. Like, I think this might be the most airtight script that I've seen in any modern blockbuster, because they really leave no stone unturned.
No, there's no fat on this movie at all. It just goes. I didn't feel like I was in there for 2 hours. It just freaking flies. And then speaking of why I thought it looked like it cost so much, that scene with the freaking with the labyrinth, that was insane.
I don't know if you saw the director's last movie, Game Night, but
this is the dude making Game Night?
Yep.
Well, that would explain it a little bit.
Yeah, I like the second they like introduced like the structure of the maze, I knew exactly. I knew exactly why these guys were chosen.
That Game Night's great. But yeah, like the mimic chest, which everyone is gonna think only comes from freaking Dark Souls, but guess what? It was there before that. But and then the maze with the freaking weird tentacle projecting monster that comes around the corner. Yo, that's cool. And then the acid jelly.
Oh yeah, the gelatinous cubes, which like melt your skin off if you're in for too long.
They do, but it's the only like plot thing that I had to disagree with in the film that I'm like, why didn't you do that? I'm like, okay, you did it for later, but that also doesn't make any sense. It's later. They magically cuff the red mage. When Doric goes in and slips back out, her cuff comes off. When Simon goes in and comes out, his cuff stays on. Why? Because plot, and we need him to put that cuff on her later.
Yeah, I guess that's the only justification for that, because otherwise when Doric like slipped out her hand, she could have like taken the cuffs out and just used that.
Exactly. But yeah, but other than that was my only one where I was like, guys, that's a giant inconsistency you just shown, because for whatever reason that cuff stayed in. But whatever. Besides that, it led to a cool moment, so that's fine. But I just love my roommate turned to me when they're showing all this stuff and then like the blimp with Forge's face on it and all that, and he turned to me. He's basically like, "Who's the guy that Jeff Goldblum played in Guardians of the or in Thor Ragnarok?" I'm like, the Grandmaster. He's like, this guy's bordering on being the Grandmaster, but of this town.
I love Hugh Grant when he's playing
douchebags.
Yeah, this is basically the fantasy version of his character from Paddington 2. He is just having the time of his life, just being himself.
Yeah, Hugh Grant. He was such a good grab for this, because outside of Michelle and Chris, everybody's not as well known. And yeah, it's just, he was such a great addition. The entire time I was like, it's one of those normally where an actor gets that big where you kind of just see them in the movie. I didn't see that, even though there was like nothing extra added on him. He just looked like Hugh Grant.
My favorite line of his, "I don't want to see you die, which is why I'm going to leave the room."
Yes, that's why I want to leave the room. He was such an honest idiot. He didn't want to do anything bad, but he's just like, I can't be a part of this. I'm just just gonna go. And he's trying to talk. I can't hear. What? What was that? I can't hear what you're saying. She has her better father, who is me, which we can agree that I can give her a better upbringing than you. But yeah, and then the fight with the red mage in the streets was fantastic. The CGI of like the hand that Simon was making and stuff like that was just awesome. Part of me was waiting and hoping a drill would be in there for whatever reason, because I'm just that guy and I'm that big of a loser and his name is Simon. But anyway,
Speaking of which, I believe there's something we need to address. The motivational speeches.
Yeah, two big ones. They're very good about believing in yourself, and you need to. Yeah, that was another. Like, guys, are you speaking to me personally? What are we doing here? He even had to smack his old self in order to get where he wanted to be. I'm like, y'all, I don't know if you just got lucky or what.
They have to know. You don't write a character who has, like, for lack of a better term, performance anxiety, and not realize.
Name him Simon. Come on. He doesn't have the weird Gainix obsession at the time of having all their characters have French connotations on their names, but it was fantastic. I'll tell you though. I will openly tell you. I was expecting this to be a big comedy that had some action in it. This was incredibly heartfelt. And I will tell you wholeheartedly that if you were going to tell me a year ago that I was going to cry during a Dungeons and Dragons film, that you were a liar, and I would have smacked you. Because D&D's got nothing to make me cry in it. And then you stick the kid with who loves his mother to death, but also has surrogate parents. And when they had the tablet of resurrection and she died, I immediately went, don't you do it. Don't you dare. And then all of a sudden he's just like, what are we going to do? We have to help her. He's like, you can't help a red mage's magic. The same exact way her actual mom died. And then that you start getting the flashbacks of the fact that Holga was her real mom the entire time. I'm like,
there's a line that Chris Pine says earlier that I think makes that point crystal clear. He says, when talking to who he thought was his daughter, I wasn't trying to bring your mother back. I was trying to bring my wife back.
Yes. That was a very clear distinction, that choice was for him and not her. And that needed to be said. And like how they're so offended that she doesn't even want to talk to Olga at the start after a while. She's even scared of her, that they're looking when he says to go have them arrested. And I'm just like, no, there's closer than just like good old Auntie Olga. Yeah, that was really well done. And all the fight gets done, and they rained all the money across. He gave Kip his promise with the book. And the end. Just that stupid douchebag Forge is running through the forest with this fucking probably 70-pound chalice. I'm keeping something. It's just like, guy, you couldn't have picked anything with gems in it that would have been worth more. No, you had to be turned into the Sheriff of Nottingham hoping to keep something. Or the king, I'm sorry, but I was just like, what? Just like, it was fantastic. And then I'm like, is he going to get away and set up a sequel? And of course, he was right there. He's like, I believe you and me need to talk. It was so good. Oh, it's fantastic.
There's a bunch of smaller details that I love too, like the scene where they dig up all of Holga's.
Oh my god, the fucking question book! I almost forgot about that. What's I full on. There was a point where I thought they were gonna do a Monty Python reference. What's your favorite color? What is your quest? What is the airs people? I guarantee you, there is a blooper where someone goes, "Where the airs people lost even on Naden Swallow."
I want to give credit to an Australian improv group that played all of those corpses. They're called Auntie Donna.
Oh, I know about them. Aunt Donna?
Yep.
Or any of you, go look it up. It is super grody and super like dingy. But one of the funniest skits they've ever done is Vikey Man.
Oh boy.
I can't sing it because it's so messed up, but the skit is so simple and done so cornily. It's so funny. I didn't know anyone else knew Aunt Donna.
But yeah, they are
them. That's awesome.
They are the corpses, and they are hysterical.
I need to rewatch that to see if I can identify them. Oh, that's fantastic. That makes me so happy. Oh, Donna's the best. But yeah, trying to think, yeah, and then, like them trying to get into the castle when you mentioned it before with them trying to get into the cart, and like she's dragging him along, so he's partially in the cart, part of his body is in the portal being dragged across the ground, and you see Olga and England just like, we're good, just trying to shut the body on the floor.
They really do such a good job with not just the effects, but just the staging of these sequences.
Yeah, the editing is great. If this doesn't win some kind of award for editing, I'm gonna be pissed. This is Top Gun levels of they edited it that well. It's insane.
The only thing, as far as like action movies go, that puts this below John Wick is honestly the lighting and the cinematography. I think the camera work is really creatively done. I just think John Wick looks more cinematic, but this still
it does, but like we've discussed that, like Chad will sit there for a month and worry about the lighting.
in one scene too.
In one scene. It's like you do not have that. It's like Kubrick, but not a psychopath.
Basically.
And that's the good thing. That's how you should be. Don't make Chevy Duvall do 700 takes because you want her hair to actually fall out for this scene. Chevy Duvall, sorry, but it's like, yeah. Oh my gosh. No, it's good. I hope we get sequels. And like, I hope these people aren't the main characters of the next one. I hope they are side characters the main characters meet. Because I want this to be an anthology.
Same. And like
it's D&D.
And the fact that this movie, I don't want to say it's bombing at the box office, because it did well enough in its opening weekend, but
it did well enough, but it's you're having your box office compared to Mario Brothers right now.
Yeah.
Like that movie already has $500 million. It's out a week. It's probably going to end at like 1.7 billion.
Probably. But my point is Dungeons and Dragons is such a it's such an evergreen property that people love this movie. So if you just like make another one, like it doesn't even have to be the same directors. It can just be like anyone with a passion for the source material. Just tell a story in this universe, or maybe on another map with like a different group of characters, new species, a new artifact to explore, whatever. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, you can do a lot of things. That's the point of where it's a title. This is one of the few times where the title should be the marketing.
Yep.
It's Dungeons and Dragons. Why do you want to go? Because I love everything to do with Dungeons and Dragons. This is not one of those things where you just slap a title on it and be like, Reloaded. It's the different one with different characters. No, this is the one where you're like, no, I want demons and dungeons and castles. It's Dungeons and Dragons. You're going because of the title. It's so rare that you can actually use the title as the marketing and people are happy. It's not like Sony who thinks, but if we just say as the Spider-Man, people will like it. No. I don't want it. No. Stop. We don't want L whatever his name is. But yeah, go see it. It's really good. It's really, really good.
Yeah, no, I agree. This one, this is one of my favorites of the year.
Yeah, this movie this year has been rock solid. Like, it's really good. And yeah, so we'll see. It just, and man, they could do whatever they wanted. That's what's so beautiful about this. And even if you don't do another movie, do like an Amazon show or something.
Yeah, you can do literally whatever you want.
Yeah,
with the
this is
property.
something that could be amazing in both mediums. But all right, Mike, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser, subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we.
You can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero. I have been not streaming a whole lot because I had a metric assload of recordings this week. I'll be back to streaming regularly next week, and everyone that knows me knows why, because the Horizon DLC will be out next week, and there will not be a second of that is not done on stream. So yeah, be ready for me to be streaming a lot and long next week. So we will see you all later.